Welcome, everyone. My name is Joshua Allen Young. I'm here with the XRSI and the XR Safety Week. Really excited for our next talk from Ben Bowman, doing immersive storytelling. Ben, please introduce yourself and go ahead and get started.
All right, sounds good. Hello, everyone. My name's Ben Bowman. You might also, if my username is showing up, it's Professor Broman. I am from the internet, so I have two names. You might be wondering, why am I here to talk about video games? What qualifies this bald guy to talk about video games? So here you go. I have obviously been playing games my whole life. I have been in the content creation and gaming space for a decade. I was one of the first 100 folks to get 500,000 followers on Twitch back when that was a big number. And I have a Guinness Book of World Record, I guess, title for getting a world first in a MMORPG called Destiny. So that's my CV there. But honestly, I love stories. Stories have been a huge part of my life, my entire life, and stories are, in my opinion, a very strong and innate part of our human experience. And so the way that we tell stories to each other, because it's our favorite thing to do, really matters. So I wanted to kind of talk about the history of video games and the narrative approach that they have had, and how that can move us forward into thinking about the sort of things that we're going to be seeing when we look at the world through gaming and XR and VR. So I believe I got the emoji correct to go to our next slide. All right, good. We're here. All right. So I'd like you to meet our first character. If you've played Super Smash Brothers, you might recognize this rudimentary character as Ness. Ness is the lead character in a Super Nintendo era RPG called Earthbound. Now, what I loved about Earthbound from a storytelling perspective is that, unlike most RPGs at the time, it was set in a modern day, or 1990X, air quotes, modern day now, or retro setting. So you were just a normal kid inside of a satirical version of the United States called Eagle Land. A meteorite crashes into your backyard, and you rush out in your pajamas, and you end up trying to save the world. You go through a whole bunch of different experiences inside of this narrative, but one of the coolest things that I loved about this game is that it had a marketing campaign with scratch and sniff stickers. And I know that doesn't, I mean, it's like the most 1990s thing I can imagine, but the scratch and sniff stickers ended up creating such powerful grounding memories for me that when I played this game, when it came out when I was 8, that if I smell anything that smells like those scratch and sniff stickers, I immediately remember all of these key moments in the game. It's incredible how our sensory experience, and specifically smell, builds memories for us and helps us experience stories. The cool thing about this game being set, you're a young kid and you're in a modern setting, is that the smells of the game are familiar to real life. So you'd get a scratch and sniff sticker that smelled like pizza, because that's how you would heal your party. You could literally go to a store in a digital world, order a pizza, wait 1 real world minute, and a guy would drop it off. He'd run up to you, give you his little spiel about how next time order breadsticks, and run off. And then you and the rest of your party enjoy pizza, and you're completely healed. These sort of experiences really makes the fantasy, and I guess for me, when I was a young kid playing the game, it really made it come alive to me, because you have this experience for me of watching a young kid go through this world that was like a little bit difficult for them to navigate, but there's still the fantastical magic that you experience with the magical thinking of childhood. So the enemies you encounter in this game and the things that you encounter in this game, I think I got the emoji correct to go forward. The magical thinking that you experience as a kid in this game really, it really helped me connect with the story. The animals talk to you. The monsters you encounter are like scary records or crazed shoppers. things that you might encounter in your everyday life as a kid. And so you get this experience of reliving a world that is a little bit confusing for you. But you have, at least for me, all of these strong memories from your sensory experience with the game. And this is also our first narrative talking point when it comes to storytelling. Earthbound is a very traditionally told story. While you are interacting with the game and you are kind of guiding Ness and his friends on their journey, you are an observer. It's a narrative. It's similar to reading a book. There's set outcomes. Things aren't going to change that much. So this is our first starting point. Most of human history, this is how we tell stories, right? This is the story. It's not going to change. But then we move to what is my personal favorite game franchise series of all time, and a great example of taking a user journey from being a passive observer of an experience to an active embodied agent of that experience. So here you have Commander Shepard. Commander Shepard is a very amorphous hero. Commander Shepard can be a man or a woman, be any gender, any race, any sexual orientation. Commander Shepard, when Mass Effect came out, gave you an option to play as yourself, no matter who you might be. This was incredibly powerful because in a story where we are attempting to take the player, take the user, and give them a full embodied experience, we want them to feel as if they are themselves. And so the developers at BioWare really trailblazed with this game. They got in huge trouble when the first game came out because there were some alien sex scenes in the game, and people were like, that's intense. But Mass Effect really does accept this full broad spectrum of human experience. And from a storytelling standpoint, it gives you a expansive breadth of time to get to know yourself as the embodied character and your effects on the universe. Mass Effect is a space opera on the same scale as Star Wars or Star Trek. It's probably closer to Star Trek, but you start off as humanity's last hope. You're the best of the best, and you get thrown into this huge, messy situation, which slowly unfurls into you discovering what is going to be wiping out all sentient life in the entire galaxy, including the Earth. It's very intense. But along the way, you are making narrative choices. BioWare has always done an excellent job of pioneering ways to bring the narrative experience into your hands as a user. So the choices that you make in the first game play through this space opera all the way to the end. I've completed this series 5 times. I've 100%ed, which means I've done absolutely everything in it, probably twice. It is one of my favorite stories, and the incredible ability you have to make alternate choices in the middle, and entire groups of aliens or entire conversations and plot lines in the game will just get trimmed off because you made the wrong decision or you made the right decision. You decided that everyone should live, and the cost for making sure everyone lives is that it's, more expensive to make this planet habitable. And those are really tiny things, but you are forced into situations where you have to make decisions about whether or not entire groups of sentient beings get to live. And when those choices come up, they feel intense because all of this time you are experiencing this story with a group of friends that you can see plastered across the wall. You have a giant cast of characters, and the relationships that you build with them, the things that you find out about them as both people, and the relationships that you forge, whether they're friendships, whether they're romantic, give you the experience of living in that world and making your choice agent through Commander Shepard. And then we get to my next most, and if you know me from anything outside of this talk, you probably know my association with this picture. Next on our narrative journey, we go from the user embodied as someone else to the user embodied as themselves. So Mass Effect is a story told from a third-person perspective. You still have a little bit of distance from Commander Shepard. And then this game, Destiny, along with many other massively multiplayer online games, enter the space. So now we go from a narrative experience that is singular, like in Earthbound, and singular, like in Mass Effect, to a world that is completely shared, that is completely social, and where you, as the storytelling agent user, you are inside the helmet of your guardian. You know, that is your Titan or your Warlock or your Hunter that is fighting through all of the hordes of aliens to save the world. Now, Destiny as well has an incredibly deep narrative structure. It's got a lot of mythological underpinnings. They're trying to tell a very large and complex and intricate story. And they give you, as the user, the power to enact your will upon that story. You are embodied in this experience. The other thing that comes around during all of this is streaming. It entered in between Mass Effect coming out and Destiny coming out. Now, the thing about streaming is now we begin to share this narrative with each other as we live it live. The foundations of what is going to become, or what is becoming right now, are sort of universal cross-reality experience begins to be embodied in these games. We're not just telling the stories ourselves, we're telling the stories with each other and through each other. The encounters in Destiny, even some of the most difficult ones, they are not something that you can take on alone. You have to forge a relationship in game and bring those people with you. This picture, if we could pop back one more, I apologize, I probably hit 2. We'll talk about Pokemon Go in a second. This is where if we were talking to a real crowd, I'd ask if anyone was playing right now, but I think we all have like screens in front of our face, so that's probably not happening. So you have to bring this group of friends with you to make this digital encounter happen. So now we have the experience of the narrative and the desire to continuously experience it, drawing people into real world interaction. The call to complete a raid is a call to find 6 players, and anyone who played Destiny at the time that this raid, the Taken King, came out, would probably tell you that it wasn't super easy to find friends in game, and it was probably really difficult to find a fire team or a group to play with on any forum. So the best raid teams, including mine, and I just wanted to give a little shout out to my brother. This is my brother. His name's Sam. He's awesome. You have to bring your team together in order to accomplish things. So you have this call out into the physical space to bring a team together to get something done. And after you do that, you have a monumental experience. All right. And so we see the narrative that we tell together begin to emerge. And so we move on to narrative telling or story experiencing together at a grand scale, completely embodied digitally and physically at the same time. Pokemon Go came out at a time when people were still trying to figure out why AR was going to work or why VR was going to work. There was these debates about, oh, well, you know, is this technology too heavy to use for video games? Is this technology really going to get its scale for video games? And then you have one of the world's most beloved IPs coming out and saying, no, we'll just make sure that everyone in the world plays this. Pokemon Go comes out and it completely transforms the way that gaming is perceived. And from a market standpoint, I believe it showed the foundation of a true AR gaming experience where people will leave their house. They will do incredible things in order to find the Pokemon they're looking for, to experience this shared narrative of going out on Pokemon Go Day, or I believe week. This is Go Fest. This is the part where I always forget words. But yeah, Pokemon Go Fest is incredible. You know, I played Pokemon Go on and off from like a fun standpoint for a while. And I took a vacation, and it happened to be the same week as Pokemon Go Fest. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to download this game again, and I just want to see what the experience is like. Because if in my mind I said if people were still playing this, I bet I'll see them everywhere. My wife and I did a lot of traveling around during that week on our vacation, and everywhere we went, every single phone had Pokemon Go on it. It had, I knew that everyone else there was engaging in the same quests. They were trying to catch like 50 Rockstar Pikachus, so that way they could, turn it into whatever the thing is I didn't get and I'm still mad about. But every single person around you was playing this game, and you had a shared experience in real life because of something that was happening digitally. And so now we come to the end of the road narratively. we have had this experience as humans that live on this planet of telling each other stories, and the ideal experience, the things that we're attempting to communicate with one another, they are not they're always limited by whatever sort of means that we have to communicate, whether that's words, whether that's painting, whether that's movies or music. There are limiting factors that don't allow us to fully communicate our ideas. There is a I have a clock going off. Oh, that's on my end. I apologize. That was my personal technical difficulties. I just had an alarm clock go off in my room. Thank you for understanding. Let me collect my thoughts. So we've come to a place where we are now used to sharing this narrative experience with each other in the physical world, in the digital world. And now with the advent of wide-scale consumer AR and VR, and the advent of things like Decentraland, where people are not just exploring the digital space as a game or as a communal experience, but as a full economic enterprise. This is a place where you are not just going and buying a game that you can absolutely play there, but you're going to build community in a physical place that is trackable back to you. And this is, in my mind, where we start having the larger scale discussions about how do we, inside of all of this narrative storytelling, view the commoditization of people's responses, because I believe that is kind of where we go when it comes to storytelling. We tell a story to share our perspective, to immerse somebody else in what it is, how we see the world, or how our character sees the world. So now we have this framework around us that's built with cameras and microphones and continuously on experiences, and we have to consider, what do we want to share to keep telling our stories? What is important for us as an end user now that we are embodied in this digital space that is in a way that will be recognizably us? What sort of protections do we need to build around storytelling? What kind of protections do we need to build to prevent AR becoming the motivator, right, of situations? Let's go back to our first character, Ness. I certainly wouldn't want kids running around in my backyard and rummaging through my trash for experience points. So these are the kind of things that we need to consider. Thinking forward a little bit beyond where we're at right now, because that's where I believe we have to be thinking, because when everyone was still debating whether or not AR was happening, people were building Pokemon Go, and they knew that it was going to go well. And right now we have a metaverse being constructed. We have decentralized currency everywhere. We have all sorts of unique online identifiers that are coming into play, and we have to start asking ourselves, when we are handing over this data that is a traditional part of our experience online, where do we want to start drawing the lines? People like to look at alternate futures, and the way things have trended in the past and the way that people sort of play lackadaisically around with our data, it wouldn't be strange to me to have some sort of artificial intelligence working on the best way to extract my response to a narrative that I'm experiencing in a game. If I'm playing Mass Effect and the experience is variable enough, what sort of responsibility does a game publisher have to make sure that I remain safe? What does safe mean in the context of an immersive story where you are fully embodied, you're getting haptic feedback, and you might even have a brain-body interface, a brain-computer interface? When we consider all of the factors that go into who we are as people and who we are when we tell stories and what we experience when we tell stories, it is incredibly important to make sure that we tell them with care. We've seen what happens when we try to simply seek engagement with algorithms. When we build things that are specifically designed to make sure that you as a user are hooked on something. And my concern, or I suppose the question I would like to raise here, is when we're looking at narrative storytelling, when we're looking at immersion, and when we're looking into these incredibly expansive experiences that we can build, that we can customize to people, that will be further customized because that's how technology works. Where do we draw the line in narrative experience between telling the stories that we want and making sure that that it to make it as plain as possible, things don't go too far? If an AI knows exactly how I'm going to respond to a situation in a story, or if it's familiar with my dopamine response or my pupil dilations while I'm playing a game, it could terrify me if it chose to, because that might keep me playing for a little bit longer. We're used to intrusive microtransactions in mobile games. Of course, they pop up on your screen as soon as you're thinking, I'm going to hop off of this and go get to cooking dinner. And then it's like, oh, hey, did you know if you stick around for 5 more minutes, you could achieve this goal? The concerns and the things that I want to make sure that I'm thinking about when we're moving forward, when we're thinking about how this applies to users at home, is how do we make sure that we are not pulling on the emotional levers in a similar way, and in many ways a stronger way? Because when we stop having this experience of being embodied through a screen and we start putting on a headset and we start having brain computer interfaces and we start living in VR, or expected to have a presence in VR, or whatever the strange future we might find ourselves in, it's going to be incredibly important to make sure that we, just like in real life, are afforded the opportunity as a user to disengage in an effective and meaningful way. Because if we don't do that, if we don't think about it now, we can end up in a situation in the future where we may or may not have the right to choose whether or not we want to stop using something. Our minds can be hacked and used against us to further tell whatever video game story we might be engaged with. Now, I am not bringing all this up because I think that awful outcome is what is going to end up happening. But these are the questions that came to my mind while I was thinking about the applications of immersive storytelling through my experience. And I really, really believe that the advent of XR and the immersive VR and digital identity, NFT, storytelling, whatever we might be able to experience in gaming and in the time to come, will produce some of the most incredible pieces of media and incredible experiences and stories that we're going to be able to share on a grand scale in ways that we never thought possible as people. And I want to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure that those stories are told ethically, with respect to people's minds and respect to people's bodies and privacy and data, whether they are in their own home or they're in a digital space. And I'll put time back for you all. and I will be happy to take any questions, which is usually what I would do at the end of this. And I'm not sure how to coordinate that, but I am here for at least a couple more minutes.
Awesome. That was a fantastic talk. If anybody has any questions, they can come up towards the stage and maybe hit that little hand raise emoji, and I'll give them microphone access. I believe I can do that. Does anybody have any questions?
Sweet.
You're just that amazing of a presenter.
Just answer everyone's questions. No, it doesn't bother me at all. Thank you all for having me out here, and I really do. I'm really looking forward to seeing what all I can learn from everybody here during XR Safety Week.
Thank you. Thanks so much, Ben. Yeah, that was a really wonderful talk. It's been a pleasure having you, and yeah, thank you everyone for attending and working through us through this first day of a couple little alt space bugs.
I think we have maybe this person has a question with a hand raised.
No.
I don't know.
No,
I think you were just cheering for me because you're awesome. Yeah, that's what's up.
Yeah, everybody's cheering for you. Yeah.
Wonderful. My heart's warm.
Well, Ben, I hope you'll join us. We're going to start up the next room now. So the way AltSpace works is that every event is a separate room. So you're all welcome to head out into the main lobby area and check the xrsafetyweek.org/agenda. We'll have the link to our next events where Laura Brown will be speaking, and we will get that started here in hopefully about 7 minutes. So look forward to having everybody there, and thank you again, Ben. Just a lot of fun having you.
Thanks.